Hello, and welcome to episode 6 of the canceled Misfits show. Tonight I'm joined by none other than just me. That's right, you get just me tonight, and that's okay, I hope. It's going to be interesting. I got a lot to go down. Some sad stories, some hopefully funny jokes. We'll do this together. Now, if you have any, because it's just me, if you have any questions you'd like to ask me and answer on here, feel free to comment. I may just answer some at the end. But let's jump right into our first story out of Loudoun County. Yes, the same Loudoun County that we talked about a few weeks ago has been under fire. Unless you just don't watch the news or possibly live under a rock, I'm sure you've heard of what has been going on in Loudoun County. But let's take a deeper dive. From the Daily Wire, as Loudoun County Schools sought to pass a controversial transgender policy in June, it concealed that a 9th grade girl was allegedly raped by a gender-fluid student in a school bathroom just 3 weeks prior. This coming again from the Daily Wire. So, if you've watched any news, you've heard of, what's his name, Scott Smith. He was branded as the face of domestic terrorism in school board meetings. There's video of him resisting arrest, getting quite upset. And, after reading this story, I can understand why. If I was a father and this happened to my kid, I'd probably be in the same boat he's in. Let's see. On June 22nd, Scott Smith was arrested at a Loudoun County, Virginia school board meeting, one that was ultimately deemed an unlawful assembly after many attendees vocally opposed a policy on transgender students. And that is all the mainstream news gave you. He was rowdy, he was loud, he resisted arrest. That's all they tell you. Now here's why. What people did not know is that weeks prior, on May 28th, Smith says a boy allegedly wearing a skirt entered a girl's bathroom at nearby Stonebridge High School where he sexually assaulted Smith's 9th grade daughter. Comes into focus, doesn't it? As we'll see moving on, I think he handled it rather well. I'd probably be wanted on murder charges. Who knows? Juvenile records are sealed, but Smith's attorney Elizabeth Lancaster told the Daily Wire that a boy was charged with 2 counts. And just as a warning here, this is very, very graphic. So, continue listening at your own risk. Daily Wire that a boy was charged with 2 counts of forcible sodomy, 1 count of anal sodomy, and 1 count of forcible fellatio related to an incident that day at the school. Yeah. Now, the kid in question is 15. What kind of society do we live in that a 15-year-old thinks this is okay? I mean, it's not okay for anybody, but 15? 15. Let's see. When the school informed Scott, they called the police not because of the actual rape, which they were planning to investigate themselves without getting law enforcement involved, because that's what needs to happen. School needs to investigate it themselves. A school that has been trying to force a very radical left-wing transgender policy wants to investigate this themselves. Something tells me that investigation may not be as intense as certainly as Scott here would hope. And they called the police because he was making a scene. I would make a scene too. Yeah, no. The school said it was handling the incident in-house. Let's see. Smith acknowledges he did make a scene and says any father would have done the same in the situation. Yeah, because that's what fathers are supposed to do. They're supposed to protect their children, and when we send them to a government-sponsored school, we expect the school to protect the children by not allowing boys and girls into the same bathroom, and maybe giving a little bit of what's the word here? Watching over them. You know, maybe not allowing a dude to go into the woman's bathroom. Yeah, I would be making a scene at the school too. Heads, I hope heads would be flying. Let's see. Smith acknowledges he did make a scene and says any father would have done the same in the situation. I was directly from Scott. I went nuts. I called the principal. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave that up to the imagination, but it's pretty obvious. 6 cop cars showed up like a SWAT team to respond to the school's complaint about an assertive parent. An assertive parent who just got a call from the school saying that his daughter was involved in an incident. Just an incident, that's all they told him. And then he gets there and realized that all of this has happened to her. All of this? Yeah. Then he goes on to say, "Thank God that I drew enough attention to it without getting arrested. That we had an escort. We got an escort to the hospital, and they administered a rape kit that night." Police records show that a 15-year-old boy was finally charged on October 6th with sexually assaulting another student at the school. That the details of the record are sealed for the moment. Government official told the Daily Wire the name of the student. It's the same name as the boy who allegedly assaulted Smith's daughter, and they are withholding the name of the suspect because of his age. Yeah. So I love how schools want to talk about being a safe place for kids to be educated, and then they go around espousing an ideology and putting into practice things that allow boys, in this case, to go into women's bathrooms, and it's not just the schools. I think there's a huge thing with Target a few years ago about this, and there's been court cases dealing with real men, taking those little. Yeah, you can see I'm fired up about this topic. Going in and keeping people from hurting their daughters, hurting their wives, hurting the people that are important to them. And it's good that they stood up for that. It really is. We definitely need more than that. But we need more than that. We need people to say, this is enough, get involved, go to your school boards, write your elected representatives. We need to make this a huge priority, because this is what happens. They got caught here. Who knows where else it's happening that they don't get caught? And I wish that was the end of the story, but it's going to get worse. Also from the Daily Wire, the Loudoun County Public School Board was under fire during its public meeting Tuesday night following a blockbuster report from the Daily Wire alleging that the district covered up a sexual assault that happened in one of its high schools. Parents and other individuals logged onto the meeting to blast the board for hiding evidence of the assault. So this is the same school board that has tightly restricted who can speak at these school board meetings, and also reduces parents to being able to speak for only 1 minute. 1 minute to put them per person, to put them on blast for their policies that led to this. Yeah, they hide like cowards. Let's see. Parents and other individuals logged onto the meeting to blast the board for hiding evidence of the assault. The comment portion of the meeting became contentious. This was on October 13th was when this particular article came out. The comment portion of this meeting became contentious almost immediately, with most of the ire directed at Loudoun County Superintendent Scott Ziegler, who notably said in a meeting over the summer that LCPS did not have any record of assaults occurring in our restroom. You know, this happened on May 22nd. So if you said that over the summer, you were lying. You were lying. Congratulations. You got caught in a lie covering up the sexual assault and rape of a little girl. Congratulations. I hope you can sleep well. Actually, I hope you don't sleep well. I hope that you never have another night's sleep being able to look into the mirror ever. Did not have any record of assaults occurring in our restrooms. In reference to concerns that opening girls-only bathrooms to its students who identify as female could expose students to danger. I'm just going to let that sink in. Just take a minute. Let that sink in. Yes, they lied to parents about kids being put in terrible situations that they could have been prevented by just a little bit of oversight and, not implementing a radical left-wing policy. If you ever want to know if you're on the right side of history and you're against this, you're on the right side of history. Let's see. Continuing on, Loudoun County Sheriff confirmed elements of the Daily Wire's blockbuster report. Alleging the Loudoun County Public School covered up a sexual assault that happened in the bathroom of a local high school, acknowledging that the department investigated a sexual assault that took place on the day in question. So, you think it couldn't get worse? It gets worse. It gets worse. According to the Daily Wire's report and the victim's attorney, the suspect in the first case is alleged to have committed a second sexual assault in early October. So they knew it happened, they covered it up, and then they moved this kid to a different school in the same system where he allegedly did the same exact thing. I said a few episodes ago that we should have just let the nukes from back when Superman saved the California coast from being pushed into the sea. Maybe he should have just let one hit. Now I'm starting to think we should have just got all the good people out of Loudoun County, Virginia, and dropped the nuke right there. Okay, continuing. Daily Mail also noted that the sheriff's office believes the same individual committed both alleged assaults. So this is from a statement, part of a statement that the Loudoun County Public School Board put out. It says, furthermore, LCPS is prohibited from disciplining any student without following the Title IX grievance process, which includes investigating complaints of sexual harassment and sexual assault. LCPS does impose interim measures to protect the safety of students involved in the original incident. Oh, I don't know, maybe keeping him away from other female students? Maybe saying, hey, you're it'd be easy. Just say, hey, you are suspended until this investigation is over, until we can either prove or disprove that you did this. But no, they let him go. I understand that we are a country of laws, that some protections have to be taken for people who have only allegedly committed crimes until they are proven guilty. But I feel like there's a better way to handle this, considering the fact that in much less cases where nobody was sexually assaulted, more severe punishments have been implemented than moving him to a different school. Case in point, we had someone junior year in high school. He brought a knife to school, which was wrong. I'm not defending it. But he didn't threaten anybody with it. He wasn't doing anything particularly dangerous with it. Still in the wrong, but he and a few others were caught in the bathroom playing with it. This particular person, it happened in the last week of junior year, and he almost missed his entire senior year of football, having to be suspended. Some people got moved around schools, but what I'm saying is he almost lost all of his senior year for that one thing, which it was a dumb thing to do, to bring a knife to school. But this dude, what was the 4 counts? What was the 4 counts again? Let me look. Looking it back up. 2 counts of forced sodomy, 1 count of anal sodomy, and 1 count of forcible fellatio. And he just gets moved to a different school and does it again. I don't know what to take of this. All right. Let's see. School board members are typically not given details of disciplinary. So the school board came under fire this, and they had supposedly had no idea what was going on. The press release they put out says, school board members are typically not given details of disciplinary matters. The board may be obliged to consider long-term suspensions or expulsions and must ensure that students have not been deprived of due process. Yes, because no school board member would ever hear of the fact that one of their students, 2 of their students, 2 separate incidents, of someone being sexually assaulted and raped. I just don't believe it. That's just me. Let me just put that out here right now. That's just me. I don't believe that they had no clue about it. I think that they are trying to hide. I don't have the story in my show notes, but one member of the Loudoun County School Board has resigned over all this. And I think they all should be. Scott Ziegler, what's his name? Yeah, Scott Ziegler, the superintendent, should definitely be ousted. Go to your school boards, know what they're doing with and to your kids in school. This is one example, but that's just to say it's one that they got caught. I'm not going to say every school, every teacher, every school board member across the country is complicit in something like this, but well, it is a national institution, and everyone in that institution has it's to their benefit for these not to become public. Talk to your kids, spend time with them. I plan on doing the same when I'm a father one day, and get to know what's happening in schools. Get to know what's happening at your school board meeting, because this is awful, and maybe in the future stuff like this can be prevented. I certainly hope so, because I mean, it's just sad to read something like this and see it. Yeah. All right, moving on. Maybe the show will be a little bit not quite so dull. Moving on. Let's see. Coming from the DC universe, the actual comics, not the movies. DC comic series called Superman, Son of Kal-El introduces the new Superman. So, Superman we're talking about coming up is not the Clark Kent Superman that's been in every movie. It's apparently the son of Clark Kent and Lois Lane, who is bisexual. He's coming out as bisexual, gay, in this new series coming out, I think in November. Yeah. So they're now coming after Superman. Why is this important, you may ask? Because it's been said that politics is downstream of culture. They are trying to invade the culture here. Now, and yes, this is a prevalent all across the entertainment industry. But they're just going to keep pushing. Let's see. Don Lemon, who himself, I believe, has just gotten engaged to his boyfriend, celebrates the new Superman for coming out and gain his autonomy, meaning he can be true to himself and honest with the world. Superman is a made-up character. Anything is true to himself, and anything is honest with the world, because he is a made-up character. which means the writer is the one who is trying to be true to himself and true to the world. And instead of, continuing on the legacy of a good hero, he has decided to crap on it. I'm making the statement right now. I was hearing another show from the Daily Wire, the Andrew Klavan show. He was talking about this, and he just and he made the statement that this is just a mean thing to do. It comes out after everything that we consider good in this world, and I get why they do it, because they don't consider those values good. And that's why this is a big story. It just shows the complete ideological rift between conservatives and leftists. It just shows how wide this divide is and how hard it's going to be coming back together. Because on a lot of things, and I'm going off on a tangent here, a lot of the differences liberals and conservatives have, there is no middle ground. What was it, last week or the week before, we had an all-abortion show? What's the middle ground on that? I mean, you can say it's how early in the which trimester you're allowed to abort your babies in, what week, when you hear a heartbeat, all of that. And morally, the line is none of it. None of it is acceptable. All of it is killing your baby. And that may be a mean way to say it about it. I'm just not going to use the sanitized language they use. I'm not going to say aborting the fetus, because it's murder. It is murder of your baby. And where's the middle ground on that? There is none. It's a crappy world we live in. Anyways, continuing off my soapbox for a second. Tom Taylor, who is the comic book writer for the DC series, insists that the new Superman is evolving, but keeping with the values the character has always represented. Wouldn't the values? No. He goes on to say, Superman's symbol has always stood for hope, for truth, and for justice. But Tom Taylor thinks truth means that men can... I would be willing to say, so go ahead, I'm not looked into him so much. I will say, I would bet on the fact... There I go, that's how I get away with slander? I would bet that Tom Taylor thinks truth can mean men can be women and vice versa, that expectant mothers have the moral authority to destroy their own babies, etc. All of these leftist talking points. I imagine he is in lockstep with the leftist thought that is in this country. That's not the truth. There's no subjective truth. There is only the correct objective truth, and then there's lies, and that's what they are propagating. Today, the symbol represents something more. Today, more people can see themselves in the most powerful superhero in comics. So I actually looked up the percentage of people who identify as LGBTQI exclamation point Greek letter pi. I don't know. I don't know how many things are in that makeup now. But according to Gallup, the identification of LGBT is 5.6% of the U.S. Adults identifying. So 5.6. We've always heard it was 2 to 3%. It seems to be rising. Latest results are based on more than 15,000 interviews conducted throughout 2020 with Americans aged 18 and older. And I don't have it on here, but if you go down and look, the Gen Z thing is even higher than that. It's somewhere like 9% of people of Gen Zers identify as LGBT or one of the other one of the other letters. So, even still with it rising, I think you're not identifying with most of the people, but that's for them. That's okay. They want to be upstream of they want to be the culture, and then 20 years down the road, that's the thought. You know, a society's thought follows the culture, and that is what they're trying to win. That's why we as conservatives seem to be losing, is because they own Hollywood, they own the mainstream media, they own all of these comic books, and we've got to figure out how we can develop our own conservative culture to fight against it. And I don't have any practical answers for you right now. But, you know, maybe someone smarter than me will come up with one. Anyway, former Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman actor Dean Cain weighed in. And he just says it's bandwagoning, tested and suggesting comics companies could do more if they shed a light on real evil in the world, like child trafficking and women being oppressed and killed in Afghanistan. And I think that speaks to more than just comic books. I think that speaks to real life as well. People want to... I don't know how many people who hate America have been outside of America and seen what it's like. I myself have only been out of America one time, to Albania, which is northwest of Greece. And I saw just a completely different style of life. You see pictures of it all the time of these second and third world countries, and you really can't understand it until you go there. And after I was there, maybe it was my preconceived biases, but I don't see how you can go to anywhere else in the world and realize that America and still hate America and still hate on its conservative foundation and the ideals that were still right to most of pretty much everywhere else in the world, and why that makes us so great. Because when you do, Albania has like one of the highest places of human trafficking in the world. It's a beautiful land, but its corruption is there, and that happens in America. I'm not going to say it doesn't, but there are all these places across the world that it's just horrible and terrible, and people would want to throw away American idealisms that keeps us from becoming those hellholes in favor of policies that will explicitly turn us into that. You know, that, like you said, the women being oppressed and killed in Afghanistan since the Taliban came back in. I mean, they went from almost a whole generation of women who were able to grow up and go to schools and be educated, and now they have to be back in their burqas and completely covered. But yeah, hate the patriarchy. Okay, continuing. To Cain, however, who spent 4 seasons playing the Man of Steel, Ted's decision is far from original. Called the move bandwagoning. I want to get it right one time. Including the most recent version of Robin, Batman's sidekick, who's come out as LGBT. I mean, we're in mainstream entertainment. We're going to see more of this. They're trying to overload you. Let's see. It's hard for me to keep track of all the different Supermans and the different worlds and adventures that he has on the comics. Cain said, knowing that Son of Kal is only one of a series of dozens featuring Superman, his offspring, and his partners. They say it's a bold new direction. I say it's bandwagoning. Got it. It's recorded. I don't think it's brave or bold or some crazy new direction. If they'd done it 20 years ago, perhaps that would be bold or brave. But brave would have been having him fight for the rights of, he says, and again, this is Dean Cain's own words. I disagree with him here. But fighting for the rights of gay people in Iran, where they'll throw you off the building for the offense of being gay. I'm not saying that gay people should be thrown off the building for being gay. I'm saying that being gay is not biblically correct. Or fight the rights of women to attend schools and have the ability to work and live, and boys not be raped by men under the new warm and fuzzy Taliban. That's a thing. So I never was deployed over to Afghanistan, but from what I understand, one of the biggest things soldiers had a problem with while they were over there is going into a culture where it's basically culturally acceptable for the men to rape the boys. It's disgusting, I know, but and they just have to let it happen. I'm glad I wasn't into that. But yeah, it's just them. It's coming after your kids, which is again saying know what they're doing, know what they're in for. Be proactive parents, because that's the only way to fight against this. It starts at the family unit level, and unfortunately, that doesn't always work. But it gives you a better chance. Yeah. I do have to say though, with every tragedy comes a chance for laughs, and I would think that the Babylon Bee nailed this on the head when they put out this. Yeah. At least they don't miss a chance for a good laugh. Moving on, we now know where Janice from Friends went after the end of the show. She apparently became a preschool teacher and likes to sing to kids. Here we go.
2, 3. I wear a mask to school. I wear a mask to school. Hi ho the Dario. I wear a mask to school. It helps.
All right, that's enough of that. You get the picture. It sounds just like her. I'm just going to put that out there right now. I know that's not the point of the show, but I saw this a couple of weeks ago, and that was my first thought was, is this Janice from Friends? But it does go to show that they want your kids. I mean, there is no statistical evidence that kids should be wearing masks at all. It's not like it does anything for them, because you can have all of the training in the world isn't going to keep a 6-year-old from taking off their mask, licking it, trading it with someone, and say, "Hey, I got a cooler mask now." I mean, kids don't know how to wear it, and it doesn't. Statistically, it does not matter. It does not matter. Yes, there are a few kids dying. By CDC, there's about 691 deaths for kids in the entire pandemic. And that even seems high. 691, okay? Out of and this is for people 17 and under. This is out of, what, 73 million people in this age group in America? 691. And yes, I get there are some long-standing consequences to COVID. But in general, a kid's immune system is all he needs to fight this off. Just to bring my point across, this is the number for the last 90 days of hospitalizations per 100,000 for kids ages 17 and below. So you see on the bottom there's a yellow line. It gets up to 2 for like a week, a couple of days maybe, but it's the bottom number you see there. And as I track it past for the past 90 days, it gets to 2 for like a couple of days, and then it drops back to one kid, not even deaths, but one kid per 100,000, one person under 18 per 100,000 being hospitalized. Not dying, being hospitalized. And that's where you get. And then we see, and I can actually pull up the numbers by age group. You can see 224. And that's since the beginning of this pandemic. 146. 172? And every single one of their deaths is a tragedy. I'm not trying to make light. Let me get it back on me. I'm not trying to make light of this. Every single one of their deaths is a tragedy. But if you go by statistics, let kids live their lives, because this is not a pandemic of kids. Even, actually, you see here, between 18 and 29, it's what, 3,841? I mean, I don't know the numbers of 18 to 29-year-olds in America, but it's pretty low. Pretty low. But you know, they want their kids. They want them to feel like they have to be. The air is toxic, and when the air is toxic, and you're muzzled all day, what will they not? How much easier is it for them to convince your kids that everything else they say is true? I'm thankful I had pretty good teachers, mostly growing up, who didn't, for the most part, didn't try to indoctrinate me. But they're out there. Be a part of your school boards. Let's see, continuing on, what else do we have here? Oh, yes. This is, the picture you're about to see is of a young lady being escorted out of her high school in Wyoming in handcuffs. That comes from Twitter. Yes, you see that right. That's a 16-year-old girl being escorted out of her high school in handcuffs. What's her crime, you say? Well, it's definitely not having a teacher break up your fight, restraining the other kid, and you pull out a weapon and allegedly shoot 4 people, and then get out the next day on bail. It's not that. Oh, that person was 18, by the way. You can look up and do your own research. No. This girl did not wear a mask. She didn't wear a surgical mask. Yes, I wish I was kidding you on this, but this is how hard they are coming after your kids. Before coming to school on Thursday morning, Grace Smith had already served 2 consecutive 2-day suspensions for not complying with her school district's mask mandate, the Sioux City Journal reported. Then, after talking with our attorney, we decided to push it, so on Tuesday I didn't leave and took the citation for $500 and then left. So it looks like they're trying to push this, but the fact that there's so many petty tyrants trying to force this, and we just looked at the numbers for kids 17 and under. The fact that there's so many petty tyrants willing to do this, it should be scary. It should be scary. It goes to show you how many people will grab at power, any power they can get, if you give them an inch. If you give them an inch, they will grab every mile they can get. And we've seen that all across the pandemic, from the federal government all the way on down to apparently school boards and principals here. And it's infuriating. It's infuriating to me for sure, but it's sad. It's sad. It's petty tyrants. And I, for one, proud of her for standing up to these. Hopefully we'll see more and more. Took the citation for $500 and left. Laramie High School administration warned Smith that each time she enters her school without a mask, she will be issued a misdemeanor trespassing citation. This time she didn't want to leave, saying she had a right to be at school. Smith was subsequently handcuffed, as if she posed some... I love this. This is a little conjecture from the, the Babylon Bee article I got this from? Not Babylon Bee, Not the Bee. The actual, not satirical news site that they have. It's from Not the Bee. They say Smith was talking's hard. Subsequently, got it, handcuffed as if she posed some sort of threat to the arresting officers, hauled off school property, and arrested. And they go on to say, if you watch the full video, you can hear an officer tell her that she is suspending the movement of 1,000 students who had to remain in their classroom because a scary girl was showing her smile and breathing the air. And I love that. If they're going this far in their school, probably them having to stay in one class and getting to the point where they just don't care about the teacher, what the teacher's saying, and what they're trying to teach, probably for the best for these kids. So she may be a hero more than she knows. This is the world we live in. This is these schools. This is our national school. Well, this one's a Wyoming school board, but across the nation, these are our schools. Be there. Talk to your kids. We can't let this continue. because it gets worse. It does. Going to New York, also another Daily Wire news article. A New York City judge has barred a father from visiting his 3-year-old daughter unless he is vaccinated against COVID-19 or submits to weekly tests. Let that sink in for a second. Let that sink in for a second. A New York City judge has barred a father from visiting his 3-year-old daughter unless he is vaccinated against COVID-19 or submits to a weekly test. Just from that, we see this has gone too far, as kids have immunity, not even natural immunity in the way that we normally talk about natural immunity. They just have a immune system that COVID just, by and large, does not have weapons that can get through it. That's 691. There's a Johns Hopkins report a few months ago that came out that said not one kid who had died from it didn't have pre-existing conditions, didn't have comorbidity factors. Now they're saying maybe 10 to 20. 10 to 20 kids who did not have pre-existing conditions might have died for COVID out of 73 million. 73 million. Just throwing that out there. Let's see. Not in the child's best interest is what the judge said, according to the New York Post. The father, who is unnamed in the court's opinion, has already recovered from COVID-19. He already has natural immunity. His body has already knocked the virus out. Here, in-person parental access by the defendant is not in the child's best interest. These are the exceptional circumstances that supported suspension. Cooper wrote on October 7th. The dangers of voluntarily remaining unvaccinated during access with a child while the COVID-19 virus remains a threat to children's health and safety cannot be understated. There is no floor to the fear people will fear of the COVID-19 virus. We have found that out. There is no floor that we just say, all right, we're stopping this madness. People just find, at this point, I believe people are just finding new ways to be scared. They're going out, they're sitting down on their front porch. Actually, probably not, because they're too scared to go outside. They're probably sitting on their couch thinking, what can I be afraid of now? What can hurt me with this virus? How can I be scared of this virus and keep taking away people's freedoms? Apparently, this judge figured out that a 3-year-old, just saying, going back to the CDC, from 0 to 4, let's see, 224 deaths. 224 deaths, 0 to 4, age 0 to 4. How many 0 to 4-year-olds are there? There's, let's see, 0 to 4-year-olds make up 6% of the U.S. population. Take 6% out of 330, you can do the math. But yeah, 224 guys. But let's not let a dad go see his daughter. Let's see. At least there's one person in the story that has some sense. The father's attorney, Lloyd Rosen, pushed back against the judge's decision. Rosen defended his client's skepticism of the COVID-19 vaccine while attacking Cooper's reasoning as unscientific. The attorney pointed out that his client already has natural immunity to COVID-19 from his bout with the illness. Exactly. He already had the virus. He has natural immunity to the virus. His kid has natural immunity. It's called being a kid. But no. What is it? It's not in the child's best interest to see the father. Rosen also, the lawyer, also argued that the judge's ruling was absurd and set an unrealistic precedent. The judge must feel that 80 million Americans who aren't vaccinated are placing their children at imminent risk of harm, and therefore the court should intervene and remove those children from their parents. This is an absurd position to take. It is an absurd position to take. However, I guarantee you that there is at least one person with that belief, but I'm just going to say it's not an outlier. I want to think that a lot of people who are that scared of the virus, I think maybe not a vast majority, but a large bit of them believe that. They believe that you're not fit to be a parent if you refuse to get vaccinated for whatever reason. I mean, you have the Colorado healthcare elements of it, at least, taking people off the donor list because they're not vaccinated. Yeah. Go New York. You're doing a great job there, Judge. Fantastic. Separating fathers and daughters, you know, fathers who have already had COVID from daughters who have the natural immunity of being a child. Congratulations. You're good job. You're doing a great job, you know. Well, I was hoping to not leave this on a low note, but that's where we're at. Do not let the state ruin your child. Be involved with them. Go to their school boards, talk with them, spend time with your kids, you know, and maybe move away from New York and California, you know, leave the politics there behind, come and live somewhere where you're free, like Florida. Ron DeSantis 2024. So y'all have a fantastic rest of your week. This will be up on YouTube later. Subscribe and also like it here. It does me a big favor because I enjoy doing this. But yeah, we'll see what comes next week. I love you all and have a great rest of your week.